My name is Jake White, and I live in Springfield, a small, cozy town somewhere in Connecticut. I work as a mid-level manager at a large company. Nothing special, just an ordinary life of an ordinary American. I have a wife, Emma, who I've been with for 10 years, and 2 kids, Billy, 8, and Sammy, 6. Emma is a housewife, stays with the kids, keeps house while I'm at work. After work, I come home. The usual family routine, dinner, TV, reading bedtime stories to the kids. Nothing out of the ordinary, just life like millions of other Americans. Except that my mother-in-law Jennifer comes to visit every few months. Now that's an event. Jennifer is a woman in her 60s, energetic, active, a chatterbox. She comes to visit us and immediately starts fussing, giving Emma advice on how to keep house, criticizing how I'm raising the kids. When my mother-in-law arrives, it's like our house explodes from the inside. She's a hurricane sweeping away the quiet and peace in her path. But something changed on Jennifer's last visit. During another family dinner, she started telling us about going on a tour to a nearby town with her friends, visiting an art gallery and a concert. Usually I wouldn't listen to her, just nodding along when needed. But for some reason, her story caught my attention this time. Jennifer described her impressions so vividly that I felt like I was there myself. Suddenly I became interested in learning more about her life. After dinner, I caught up with her in the kitchen where Jennifer was doing the dishes. "Jennifer, is it really that great? Going to different places, visiting galleries?" I asked her. My mother-in-law just beamed with my unexpected interest. "Oh, Jake, it's something incredible to break out of the house, to see the beauty of the world with your own eyes, instead of just sitting in one place, tied down." She passionately described to me how amazing it feels to be a part of something bigger, not limited to the narrow confines of family and home. I listened to her with my mouth open, as if discovering a completely different woman. From that day on, I started finding excuses to spend more time alone with Jennifer after work, ostensibly to discuss various home-related matters. But in reality, I was increasingly captivated by her stories about the world around us. Meetings with Jennifer became regular. After work, instead of going straight home, I would head over to my mother-in-law's under various pretenses. "Emma, I'll be a little late. Meeting with partners." "Emma, I need to go to Jennifer's. We'll discuss current household matters." Emma didn't suspect a thing. Meanwhile, I spent evenings on end sitting with my mother-in-law in her kitchen over a cup of coffee, listening to her fascinating stories from her life. Jennifer would tell me about how she traveled all over Europe with her husband in her youth, about her modeling career, thanks to which she traveled half the world. I sat there with my mouth agape, my heart pounding as I listened raptly to her tales. My life in Springfield suddenly seemed dull and limited to me, full of missed opportunities. Jennifer, on the other hand, even though she was already 60, radiated so much youthful energy and zest. She didn't just live, she blazed brightly. During these meetings, it was as if I fell out of the routine and plunged into an ocean of vivid colors. And when I returned home to Emma and the kids, I felt snuffed out and caged. "How can she not see that I'm dying alive in our family?" I thought with annoyance, looking at my wife. And then I immediately reproached myself for such thoughts. But I continued to meet with my mother-in-law again and again, making up new stories. No one was to find out the real reasons for my regular late returns home. The more time I spent alone with Jennifer, the stronger the strange tension became between us. During her stories, her hand would accidentally brush against mine. Her smoldering gaze would linger longer than usual. My mother-in-law was no longer just an elderly woman gossiping at the kitchen table. I saw something else in her, a woman full of life and passion. When she described vivid episodes from her youth, her eyes would ignite, her speech became lively and emotional, and I caught myself increasingly thinking that I couldn't take my eyes off her lips or found myself staring too intently at the curves of her figure. Although my mother-in-law was already of age, traces of her former beauty lingered. In her posture, the way she moved, the way she spoke, I began having dreams. Rather strange dreams, if not more. I would wake up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat, feeling my heart pounding heavily. Indecent thoughts about my own mother-in-law swirled in my head, and it scared me. But I couldn't help it. During my meetings with Jennifer, my gaze would involuntarily slide towards her décolletage or her shapely thighs. I caught myself fantasizing about what it would be like if I caressed her slender figure with my hands. Once, Jennifer accidentally spilled coffee on her blouse and leaned over to wipe the stain. Her chest ended up dangerously close to my face. Before I could orient myself, a wave of my mother-in-law's sweet perfume hit my nostrils. For a moment I lost my composure and admired the view that had opened up. "Hey, Jake!" Jennifer straightened up and playfully slapped me on the shoulder. "Take it easy there. Don't devour me with your eyes." I flushed and stared at the floor as Jennifer let out a ringing laugh. But from that incident on, the atmosphere between us became genuinely sultry. It all happened on one of those days when Emma had gone to visit her best friend with the kids for a couple of days. I was left alone with Jennifer under the usual pretext of an important family meeting. But this time, as soon as the door closed behind Emma, the atmosphere in the house immediately became electrified. Jennifer generously poured us both some wine, filling the air with the intoxicating aromas of alcohol and her perfume. It was clear something had changed. There were literal electric sparks between us. Jennifer playfully stroked my arm, gazing at me smolderingly from under her lashes. With each passing minute, the tension only grew. I can't even remember who leaned in for the first kiss. But in the next instant, we were entwined in a passionate embrace, tearing each other's clothes off. Having completely disregarded all conventions, I scooped Jennifer up in my arms and practically carried her into the nearest bedroom. There, we completely lost control, like two maniacs consumed by lust and desire. Rolling around on the rumpled sheets, we pressed against each other, moaning and writhing as one flesh. It was wild, forbidden, and devilishly arousing. I kissed, licked, bit every curve of Jennifer's luscious body, and she responded with triple the passion, digging her nails into my back. Somewhere in the background lingered the thought that I was doing something horrible, betraying my own wife with her mother. But the sweet frenzy of sin had completely robbed me of my senses. Eventually, we collapsed, drained onto the crumpled, damp sheets. Jennifer went limp, still clinging to me, while I fell back onto the pillows, breathing heavily. The madness had subsided, but the residue of the sinful deed remained. I was the first to come to my senses. Abruptly shrugging off Jennifer's arms, I jumped up and began frantically pulling my clothes on. My mother-in-law watched me with a mixture of satisfaction and bewilderment on her face. As for me, I felt a chill of disgust run down my spine. What had I done? How could I look Emma in the eye after I had laid my hands on her own mother? Leaving Jennifer in a disheveled, blissful state on the rumpled bed, I flew out of the bedroom. Bursting outside, I greedily gulped the evening air, trying to gather my thoughts. The betrayal had been committed. I had broken my vow of fidelity to my wife in the most sinful, perverted form. And now, only two solutions loomed before me. Either confess everything to Emma and await the inevitable breakup, or bury this horrible incident deeper and pretend nothing had happened. But would I be able to look her in the eye after what I had done? With trembling hands, I took out my phone and hovered my finger over Emma's number. But at the last moment, I simply changed my mind and shoved my phone back into my pocket. For now, I had no answer to this question,